Jorge clutched his backpack to his chest, the zipper half broken from years of schoolyard tumbles, now stuffed with a crumpled photo of his family at last year's county fair. A toothbrush pilfered from the bathroom sink, and the one hoodie that still smelled faintly like home. He was 12, small for his age, with knees that knocked together in the chill wind whipping off Puget Sound. But in that moment, as the screen door creaked open and his father shoved him into the downpour, he felt ancient, like he'd been carrying the weight of unspoken truths since the day he first noticed how the boys in his class made his heart stutter in ways the girls never could. The trailer park lights blurred into yellow smears behind him as he stumbled down the gravel path, mud sucking at his sneakers, the world narrowing to the slap of water on his face and the hollow echo of his own ragged breaths. He didn't cry, not yet, because crying would mean this was real, that the man who'd taught him to bait a hook and skip stones across the lake had just erased him with words sharper than any knife. By dawn, the adrenaline had ebbed, leaving him curled on a bench in Discovery Park, the massive oaks dripping condensation onto his shivering form, wondering if anyone would even notice a boy like him vanishing into the ferns. The city's pulse thrummed faintly in the distance, ferries honking across the sound. But here in the green's heart, Jorge was invisible, just another shadow among the joggers and dog walkers who averted their eyes from the drenched kid with hollow cheeks and eyes too old for his face. Head tried phoning his mom earlier, but the line went dead after her hesitant hello, replaced by his father's roar in the background. "He's gone. Don't you dare bring that shame back here." So Jorge sat, knees drawn up, staring at the gray waves crashing against the rocky shore, imagining swimming out until the cold claimed him, until the secrets stopped gnawing at his insides. Hours blurred into a numb haze. A squirrel chattered overhead, dropping acorns like judgments, and Jorge picked one up, rolling it between numb fingers, its rough bark a small anchor against the vertigo of abandonment. He thought of Tommy from school, the way they'd hidden behind the bleachers last spring, hands brushing in that electric way that made Jorge feel seen for the first time, only for Tommy to pull away with a whispered, "This ain't right, man." Now, even that memory soured, a reminder that love, whatever shape it took, was a door slammed in his face. Footsteps crunched on the wet path, steady and unhurried, pulling Jorge from his spiral. He glanced up, expecting another hurried passerby, but this man paused mid-stride, his running shoes planted firm on the mulch. Tall, broad-shouldered, with salt and pepper hair cropped close and a jawline shadowed by morning stubble. He wore sleek black athletic gear that hugged his frame like it was tailored for the rain. Elias Hawthorne, though Jorge wouldn't learn that name for hours yet, tilted his head, rain beating on his Gore-Tex jacket, his green eyes narrowing not in pity but in something sharper, like recognition. "You look like you could use a dry spot," Elias said, voice low and steady, carrying the faint drawl of someone who'd grown up in Seattle's rain-slicked veins but chased fortunes farther south before circling back. He didn't wait for an answer, just shrugged off his jacket and held it out, the fabric still warm from his body heat. Jorge stared, frozen, the acorn forgotten in his palm. No one had ever offered him shelter without strings, without the side-eye glances his father shot whenever Jorge lingered too long near the neighborhood boys. Hesitation warred in Jorge's chest, but the cold had seeped into his bones, turning his limbs to lead. He took the jacket, draping it over his shoulders, the scent of cedar cologne and clean sweat enveloping him like a tentative embrace. Elias nodded once, then gestured toward a nearby trailhead cafe, its windows fogged with steam. "Coffee, black, on me, unless you're more of a hot chocolate kid." Inside, the warmth hit like a wave, coffee grounds and cinnamon mingling in the air, locals murmuring over laptops and newspapers. Jorge slid into a booth, the vinyl squeaking under him, while Elias ordered 2 mugs and a plate of muffins that arrived steaming, blueberries bursting against golden crusts. "I'm Elias," the man said, sliding a muffin across the scarred tabletop. "And you've got a name, right? Or should I guess? Starts with a J, maybe? Like the jazz cats from the old clubs downtown." "Jorge," he mumbled, picking at the muffin, crumbs scattering like his resolve. The word felt foreign on his tongue, as if saying it aloud might summon his father back to drag him away. Elias leaned back, nursing his coffee, not pressing, just watching with that quiet intensity that made Jorge feel peeled open, layers stripped by those steady green eyes. They talked, or rather, Elias did, weaving stories of Seattle's underbelly, the tech boom that swallowed kids like Jorge whole if they weren't careful, the hidden speakeasies in Capitol Hill where men like him found solace in dim lights and jazz riffs. Jorge listened, words trickling out in fits and starts. The trailer, the fight, the door that closed on everything he knew. Elias' face hardened at the edges when Jorge reached the part about his father. The homophobic slur spat like gospel. But he didn't interrupt, just let the boy's voice crack against the cafe's hum. By the time the rain eased to a drizzle, Elias had sketched a plan on a napkin. A night in his guest room overlooking the sound. A call to social services in the morning. No promises but no judgments either. World's full of bastards who build walls, he said, crumpling the napkin. But walls can be climbed. Or knocked down. Jorge followed him out, jacket still clutched tight. The park no longer a refuge but a threshold to something unknown, terrifying in its kindness. That first night in Elias Hawthorne's waterfront condo in Magnolia, Jorge lay awake on sheets that smelled of lavender detergent, staring at the ceiling fan whirring lazily overhead. The space was all clean lines and floor-to-ceiling windows, views of ferries slicing through the mist like silver ghosts, a far cry from the trailer's sagging floors and perpetual damp. Down the hall, Elias paced his study, phone pressed to his ear, voice a murmur of negotiations with caseworkers and lawyers, pulling strings Jorge could only glimpse. Sleep came fitful, dreams tangled with rain and slamming doors, waking him to the scent of bacon frying at dawn. Elias was in the kitchen, sleeves rolled up on a crisp white shirt, flipping strips in a cast-iron skillet while coffee percolated on the counter. "Morning, kid. Eggs how you like 'em? Scrambled, over easy, or sunny side with a side of regret?" Jorge managed a ghost of a smile, sliding onto a bar stool, the marble cool under his palms. "Scrambled. Thanks." They ate in companionable silence at first, the clink of forks against plates the only sound, until Elias broke it with a question that landed soft but deep. "What you want to be when you were little, Jorge? Before all this?" The boy paused, fork midway to his mouth, yolk dripping like unspoken dreams. "Astronaut, or maybe a chef. Something where I could go places, see stars up close or make people happy with food." Elias nodded, eyes distant for a beat, as if weighing his own lost boyhood against this one. By week's end, the social worker had come and gone, her clipboard full of notes and temporary placements, but Elias waved her off with a check for legal fees and a quiet insistence on fostering. "He's not a case file. He's Jorge." The boy overheard from the hallway, heart thudding against his ribs, the word foster wrapping around him like Elias' jacket that first day warm, but temporary, alone against the inevitable return to the system. School started tentative, a public magnet in Queen, and with brick facades and echoing lockers, where Jorge buried himself in science labs and cafeteria corners, avoiding the clusters of kids who sized him up with whispers. Elias drove him each morning in a sleek black Audi, radio tuned to indie folk stations, windows cracked to let in the briny air. "You're tougher than you know," he'd say at drop-offs, hand clapping Jorge's shoulder with a firmness that grounded without smothering. Evenings unfolded in rhythms Jorge had never known. Homework at the kitchen island with Elias quizzing him on algebra over takeout pho from a hole in the wall in the International District. Walks along the waterfront where gulls wheeled overhead and the boys' questions spilled freer. "Why me?" Jorge asked one twilight, their shadows long on the pier. "You could have kept walking that day." Elias stopped, hands in pockets, gaze on the Olympic mountains fading purple. "Because I know what it's like to be thrown away, not by family, but by the world that says you're wrong for who you love. Tech world's cutthroat, deals sour, partners bail when the money talks queer. Saw myself in you, kid. Small, soaked, staring down the barrel of a loan." In the months that followed, Jorge's world expanded like the sound at low tide, revealing hidden coves he'd never imagined. Elias enrolled him in after-school programs at the local community center in Ballard, where art classes spilled paint onto salvaged wood and drama club kids rehearsed scenes from Tennessee Williams under fluorescent buzz. Jorge found his footing in the theater wing, lines from Cat on a hot tin roof resonating with the ache he still carried, Brick's haunted silences mirroring his own. Elias noticed, of course, those green eyes missed little. Head linger after pickups, chatting with the director, a wiry woman named Lena with tattoos snaking up her arms like forgotten rivers. Kids got layers, she'd say, and Elias would nod, pride flickering brief before he masked it with a joke about Jorge's dramatic flair for disappearing socks in the laundry. Home life settled into a quiet domesticity, punctuated by small rebellions. Jorge tested boundaries, staying out past curfew at a friend's arcade birthday, only to find Elias waiting on the condo's balcony. Not angry but concerned, a beer sweating in his hand. Heart's fragile, Jorge. Mine included. Call next time. The apology came wrapped in a hug, Elias' arms solid around the boy's lanky frame, a scent of aftershave and sea salt that Jorge would later chase in dreams. Puberty crept in uninvited, awkward as a ill-fitting suit. Jorge's voice cracked during dinner debates over Mariners games, limbs stretching overnight until Elias was hauling thrift store jeans from Value Village runs. Showers lingered longer, mirrors fogged with confusion over the changes in his body. The way his gaze drifted to Elias' broad back as he chopped onions for stir-fries, a forbidden curiosity blooming in the quiet hours. He confided in no one, burying it under stacks of biology textbooks and late-night sketches of constellations. But Elias, ever perceptive, broached the topic one rainy Saturday, sprawled on the living room rug with a chessboard between them. Bodies change, kid. Minds too. Whatever storms brew in there, they pass. And if they don't, you talk. To me. Always. Jorge moved a pawn, cheeks burning. What if it's wrong? The word hung heavy, echo of his father's venom. Elias captured the piece, voice even. Wrong's the world's, not yours. Love who you love, Jorge. It's the purest rebellion there is. They played until midnight, the board a battlefield of unspoken permissions, and when Jorge finally slept, the dreams shifted. Less drowning, more flying, wings borrowed from the gulls outside. By 13, Jorge had a crew. Mia, a sharp-tongued Korean-American girl from drama club who smuggled him bootleg copies of queer indie films on USB drives, and Devin, a lanky black kid from the science lab who bonded with him over dissections and shared playlists of Tyler, the Creator. They'd hole up in the community center lounge, debating crushes and college dreams, Mia rolling her eyes at their fumbling metaphors for desire. Elias encouraged it all, stocking the fridge with sodas for their hangouts, even joining once for pizza and a screening of Moonlight. His silence during the beach scene louder than any commentary. Afterward, as the teens dissected the film's raw edges, Elias caught Jorge's eye across the room, a nod of solidarity that said more than words. But cracks formed, subtle as Seattle fog. Elias' work consumed him, Hawthorne Innovations, his software firm specializing in AI for sustainable energy, exploded with venture capital from Silicon Valley vultures circling for a buyout. Late nights stretched into dawns, Elias' laptop glowing blue in the study, takeout containers piling like unanswered questions. Jorge felt the shift, the way Elias' smiles grew thinner, distracted by conference calls with partners in tailored suits who eyed him like a prized asset. One evening, overhearing a heated exchange on speakerphone, Elias, the board's twitchy about your personal life. Optics matter in this game. Jorge froze in the hallway, heart twisting. Was he the liability? The queer kid in the glass house? He confronted Elias the next morning over cold cereal, spoon clinking aggressively. Am I messing you up? With them? Your big-shot friends. Elias set down his mug, lines etching deeper around his eyes. Never. You're the best thing I've built, Jorge. The rest? Noise. But doubt lingered, a shadow Jorge couldn't shake, fueling late-night scrolls through Elias' old photos online. Smiling with an ex, a broad-shouldered architect named Ryan, arms linked at galas, before the split that left Elias hollowed. School pressures mounted too. Freshman year brought gym class gauntlets, Locker room taunts from jocks who sniffed out difference like blood in water. Ferry Ramirez. They'd hiss towels snapping close but never quite connecting. Until one afternoon in the showers, steam thick as guilt, a shove sent Jorge sprawling, soap stinging his eyes as laughter echoed off tiles. He walked home that day, backpack heavy with wet clothes, bursting through the condo door to find Elias on the couch, tie loosened, a tumbler of scotch in hand. Rare for midday. Rough one, Elias asked, patting the cushion. Jorge collapsed beside him, words tumbling. The shove, the slurs, the fear that had never outrun his father's curse. Elias listened, then pulled him close, not as father but anchor, murmuring against his hair. You fight smart, not hard, and you ain't alone. That night marked a pivot. Elias hired a tutor for self-defense at a dojo in Fremont, wooden floors echoing with katas and the philosophy of breath over brute force. Jorge thrived there, body learning control as mind wrestled chaos, sparring partners becoming confidants who shared stories of their own hidden selves. Yet intimacy brewed unspoken. Jorge's sketches evolved, Elias' figure recurring in charcoal strokes. Profile against sunset, hands deft on a guitar head pulled from the closet one stormy evening, strumming folk tunes from his college days in Austin. Play something for me, Jorge had begged. And Elias did, voice gravelly over chords, eyes locking in a way that blurred lines. At 14, the first kiss came accidental, or so they'd tell themselves later. A power outage plunged the condo into candlelit hush during a blizzard, board games abandoned for ghost stories on the rug. Laughter faded to shushes, faces inches apart in the flicker, and when Jorge's hand brushed Elias' thigh, neither pulled away. Lips met tentative, salt and whiskey, a spark that ignited and scorched. Panic followed dawn. Jorge bolted to his room, heart hammering, while Elias knocked softly, voice strained. We can't. Not like this. You're everything. But timing, Jorge. It's cruel. The words wounded deeper than any shove, betrayal in their gentleness. Jorge packed a bag that afternoon, echoing his mother's silence years prior, slipping out to MIA's couch for a week of tear-streaked sleepovers and vague explanations. He's scared of me, head whisper, and Mia, wise beyond her braces, would squeeze his hand. Or of losing you. Reconciliation came halting, Elias showing up at the community center with takeout banh mi and eyes ring dark. I panicked. Old ghosts. Ryan left because I wouldn't commit, afraid of the labels. But you're no ghost. Come home. They rebuilt walls higher, affection channeled into mentorship. Elias introducing Jorge to queer icons at readings in Capitol Hill bookstores. Dusty shelves heavy with Audre Lorde and James Baldwin. Dinners out at hidden gems like a vegan spot in Georgetown, where candlelight danced on Jorge's sharpening features, Elias' gaze lingering too long on the curve of his jaw. By 15, Jorge bloomed defiant. He came out at school assembly, voice steady over the mic in the auditorium. I'm gay. And I'm here. Cheers drowned the booze, Mia whooping from the front row, Devin fist pumping beside her. Elias waited in the parking lot, arms open, pride raw in his grin. Braver than I ever was. But shadows lengthened. Elias' firm teetered on acquisition talks, board members whispering about his instability. Code for the foster kid with rainbow flags in his window. Jorge overheard a call, venomous execs snarling. Hawthorne's bleeding heart'll sink us. Send the boy packing. Rage simmered. Jorge confronted the ringleader at a firm gala, tux too big on his frame, slipping past velvet ropes to corner Victor Lang, a slick venture capitalist with a shark smile. You think you can erase him? He's worth 10 of you. Victor laughed, champagne flute tilting. Kid, dreams cost. Run along before I make this official. The threat hung, catalyst for Jorge's first real rebellion. He hacked crude code from online forums into Lang's emails, leaking proof of embezzlement to anonymous tips lines. Chaos erupted, headlines screaming, Tech Titan scandal. Elias' firm salvaged but scarred, Victor ousted in disgrace. Elias found out through lawyers, storming into Jorge's room that night, face thunderous. You could have ruined everything. Jail, Jorge. For what? For you? The boy shot back, tears hot. To protect what's ours. The fight fractured them. Elias retreating to work binges. Jorge to friends' couches. The condo echoing empty. Weeks passed in radio silence, until a breakdown. Jorge, feverish with flu, crashing at MIA's. Elias bursting through the door with broth and regrets. Forgive me, he whispered, spooning soup at the boy's bedside. I built walls to keep you safe, but they locked me out too. Healing began tentative therapy sessions in a Belltown office with a counselor named Theo, who unraveled their tangled roles, father, son, something more. Love evolves, Theo said, but consent carves the path. 16 arrived with the ferocity of a summer storm off the Pacific. Jorge shooting up another 4 inches. Voice settling into a timbre that turned heads in hallways. School became a proving ground, valedictorian whispers trailing him like contrails. AP classes a gauntlet he ran with grim determination. Elias marked the birthday with a road trip, winding the Audi up the coast to the Olympic Peninsula. Highway 101 hugging cliffs where waves gnawed at basalt like hungry secrets. They camped in the Hoh rainforest, tents pitched under moss-draped cedars, the air thick with fern and decay. Evenings around a crackling fire, Elias taught him constellations. Orion's belt a hunter's slash, Cassiopeia a queen's vain curve. Stories spun from starlight that wove their histories tighter. See that one? Elias pointed, arm brushing Jorges. Perseus, slayer of monsters. But even heroes bleed. Nights blurred boundaries. In the tense nylon hush, sleeping bags zipped together against the damp chill. Hands wandered exploratory, breaths sinking in the dark. First touches tentative, mapping shoulders and collarbones. Elias' voice a rumble of consent. Tell me if it's too much. Jorge never did. The world narrowing to calloused fingertips tracing ribs. Awakening nerves head only dreamed of. Morning brought awkward coffees over camp stove. Averted eyes and stilted talk of salmon runs. But the pull endured. Magnetic. Back in Seattle, they navigated it clandestine. Stolen moments in the condo's shower, steam veiling their forms as water sluiced over entwined limbs. Lazy Sundays in bed, sheets tangled. Elias' lips charting the freckles across Jorges' chest like a cartographer's love letter. Guilt gnawed at Elias, a constant undercurrent. Head wake before dawn, staring at the boy's sleeping face, soft in repose, lashes fanning cheeks, and question the ethics, the power imbalance etched in years and roles. Therapy with Theo delved deeper, sessions where Elias' voice cracked over admissions. He's my world, but am I his poison? Grooming him into this. Theo leaned forward, glasses perched low. Intent matters. You've given space, choice. But pause. Let him lead. Jorge sensed the retreat, the way Elias pulled back during movie nights, opting for the armchair over the couch. Frustration boiled over one autumn evening. Rain lashing windows as they argued in the kitchen. Takeout containers forgotten. You're ashamed, Jorge accused, voice rising. Of me. Of us. Elias slammed a palm on the counter, eyes flashing. Ashamed? Am terrified. Of hurting you. Of the world that tear us apart for this. The words ignited Jorge, 16 and fierce, shoving Elias against the fridge, lips crashing in a kiss born of defiance. Then fight for it, or let me go. Elias yielded, hands framing Jorges' face, thumbs brushing tears. I am fighting, every damn day. Winter brought revelations. Elias X, Ryan, resurfaced via email, a architects conference in Portland, casual invite to reconnect over craft beers. Elias showed Jorge the message, transparent as glass. Old chapter, but you're the story now. Jealousy flared brief, a green twist in Jorges' gut, but he urged Elias to go, testing trust. See if he's still your ghost. Ryan was broader than photos suggested, laugh booming in a brewpub overlooking the Willamette, but conversation circled back inevitable. Heard about the kid, Ryan said, nursing an IPA. Foster son, right? Noble Elias, but dangerous territory. Elias stiffened, foam clinging to his mustache. He's not a kid anymore, and it's not your lane. The drive home was pensive, Elias unpacking the encounter over diner pie at a roadside stop. Ryan's right about danger, but wrong about us. You're my north, Jorge. Back home, they sealed it with intention. A weekend away at a cabin in the Cascades. No phones, just snow-shrouded pines and a fireplace crackling like confessions. There, in flannel sheets warmed by embers, they crossed thresholds deliberate, bodies learning each other with reverence. Elias murmurs of adoration punctuating gasps. Beautiful. Mine. Jorge arched into it, vulnerabilities laid bare, the act a sacrament against the world's condemnations. Spring thawed more than earth. Jorge landed an internship at a local nonprofit in Pioneer Square, coding apps for homeless youth outreach, channeling his past into purpose. Elias beamed at the ceremony, suit sharp, but eyes misty when Jorge dedicated his first project to the man who found me. Yet prosperity bred peril. Hawthorne Innovations IPO loomed, stock tickers flashing green on CNBC, Elias' name in Forbes as Seattle's queer tech darling. Paparazzi swarmed galas, lenses hungry for scandal, whispers of the boy in his life, twisting innocent photos into tabloid fodder. Betrayal struck swift. Victor Lang, exiled but venomous, leaked doctored files to a gossip site, emails fabricated to paint Elias as predatory, Jorge the manipulated teen. Headlines screamed, tech mogul's dark secret, shares plummeting, board in uproar demanding Elias step down. Jorge saw it first on his phone during a lecture break, world tilting as classmates shot sidelong glances. He raced to the office tower in Belltown, bursting into Elias' boardroom mid-meeting, executives in pinstripes gaping. It's lies, he panted, thrusting printouts. Victor, he's rotting from the outside. Elias rose, hand on Jorge's shoulder steadying them both. We fight this. Together. Lawyers swarmed, Theo mediating emotional fallout in crisis sessions where Jorge raged. They see me as victim, but I'm your equal. Elias held him through sobs, whispering, You are, always were. The scandal crested in a press conference, Elias at a podium under Klieg lights, Jorge off stage but visible, hand in his. These allegations are fiction from a scorned man. Jorge Ramirez isn't my ward. He's my partner. And our love? It's the foundation of everything I've built. Gasps rippled, cameras flashing frenzy. But Elias held firm, voice resonant. To the kids out there, thrown away for who you are, you're not broken. You're beacons. Find your park, you're Elias. The world's waiting to change. Vindication came gradual. Lang indicted for fraud. Shares rebounding. Allies rallying with op-eds in The Stranger praising Elias' courage. But scars lingered, trust frayed like old ropes. Summer solstice found them on the balcony. City lights twinkling below like fallen stars. Jorge, now lithe and assured at 17, leaned into Elias' chest, heartbeat sinking. We survived. Elias kissed his temple, breath warm. We thrive. Yet beneath the triumph, Jorge harbored a secret. A scholarship letter from MIT. Full ride in computer science. Boston calling like a siren's song. He weighed it silent, the pull of independence warring with the anchor of home. 18 dawned with the precision of a coded algorithm. Jorge legal in eyes of law, if not yet in the courts of public scrutiny. Graduation caps sailed like blackbirds over the high school lawn in Queen, and Mia screeching beside him, Devin snapping photos with a vintage Polaroid. Elias stood apart in the crowd, bouquet of wildflowers clutched tight, green eyes locking on Jorge as he crossed the stage, diploma in hand, a silent vow etched in that gaze. The party afterward sprawled across the condo, balloons bobbing against windows overlooking the sound, playlist thumping with Chapel Roan and Boy Genius. Friends toasted with spiked punch, toasts slurring into inside jokes, but Jorge slipped away midway, finding Elias on the fire escape, cigarette dangling unlit between fingers. A habit from stressed board meetings, abandoned but remembered in crises. You okay? Jorge asked, sliding the window shut behind him, city hum muffled. Elias exhaled smoke he hadn't inhaled, flicking the butt away. Proud, terrified. Yesterday's kid, today's man. Where'd the time go? Jorge straddled the railing beside him, knees bumping. Stayed right here. With you. Their kiss was slow, seasoned now. Tongues tracing familiar paths, hands wandering under shirts to skin warmed by summer dusk. Inside, the revelry peaked then ebbed, cabs scattering the crew, leaving empty cups and confetti trails. Cleanup became foreplay, laughter bubbling as they vacuumed glitter from rugs. Elias tackling Jorge onto the couch in a mock wrestling hold that dissolved into moans. Clothes shed like old skins, bodies familiar yet renewed. Elias worshipping with lips and palms, Jorge guiding with whispers of want. Afterward, tangled in sheets, sweat cooling, Jorge broached the letter. MIT accepted me. Full ride. Starts fall. Elias stilled, arm tightening around his waist. Boston. Across the country. Yeah. Jorge traced Elias' collarbone, pulse fluttering. But I don't have to go. We could. No. Elias propped on elbow, face grave. You go. Build your empire. It'll be here, rooting from the cheap seats. The words stung, noble but laced with finality. Jorge nodded, throat tight, dreams of parallel lives flickering. Elias in Seattle, Jorge in Cambridge. Video calls bridging miles but not touches. Fall arrived crisp, leaves carpeting sidewalks in Fremont as Jorge packed boxes. Elias helping fold sweaters into duffels with mechanical precision. Airport drop-off was agony masked in smiles. Elias' grip lingering on the curb. Call every night, or ill storm the gates. Jorge laughed. Boarding pass crumpled in fist. Love you more. Boston assaulted with brick ivy and autumn bite. Charles River glittering under elms. Dorm life a whirlwind of syllabi and strangers. Jorge dove in, coding clubs and queer alliance mixers. Roommates named Theo. Coincidence that charmed, and Priya. A firebrand from Mumbai dissecting algorithms like poetry. Nights, head FaceTime Elias, pixelated faces filling screens. Updates on classes traded for tales of boardroom battles. Miss your laugh, Elias would say, voice tinny. And the way you hog the blankets. Miss your cooking. And you. Touches ghosted through glass. Fingers pressing as if to pierce the divide. Midterms brought burnout. Jorge holed in libraries till dawn. Red Bull veins pulsing code. A hookup followed. A barista named Finn with tousled red hair and easy grins. Bodies colliding in an off-campus apartment. Frantic and forgettable. Guilt crashed post-climax. Jorge fleeing into the night. Dialing Elias at 3 a.m. I'm sorry, he sobbed into the line. Rain slicking Cambridge streets. It meant nothing, but Shoo. Elias' voice anchored, calm amid his own dawn patrol. Mistakes happen. But you're mine, Jorge. Always. Come home for break. Well sorted. Thanksgiving pulled him west. Plane touching down in Seattle-Tacoma fog. Elias waiting at baggage claim, arms enveloping before words. The drive home wound through holiday traffic. Radio crooning Norah Jones. Hands intertwined over the console. Reunion ignited. Condo doors barely shut before clothes hit floors. Pent-up longing unleashing in bedroom frenzy. Elias pinning him to the mattress, growls of possession mingling with pleas. Need you. All of you. Jorge yielded. Nails raking backs. Cries echoing off walls. Reclaiming what distance had teased. Holiday idol shattered mid-feast. Elias' sister, Clara, visiting from Portland with her wife and toddler. Arrived laden with pies, her sharp wit a family staple. Over turkey and cranberry. Conversation veered to the IPO's aftermath. Clara probing gentle. Papers still buzzing. You two holding. Elias tensed, fork pausing. We're solid. But Clara eyes flicked to Jorge, concern etching. Later, in the kitchen, suds bubbling from dishwater, she cornered him. He's twice your age, kid. Power dynamics, it's messy. You sure this is love, not gratitude? Jorge bristled, sponge twisting. Gratitude? He's my equal. My choice. Clara sighed, drying a plate. Choices echo. Just protect your heart. Seeds of doubt sprouted, watered by calls from Theo the therapist, who urged space. College is growth. Let it breathe. Spring semester ramped, Jorge excelling in quantum computing electives, professors touting him for grad tracks. Summer's internship at a Cambridge startup blurred days into code sprints, Finn orbiting peripheral, a coffee run here, a study session there, until one bleary night, exhausted and lonely, Jorge caved again, waking to regret sharper than before. Elias sensed it over calls. Silence is stretching. Talk to me. Head press? But Jorge deflected, burying in work. Fracture widened, texts tapering, until a blow-up during finals week. Elias' voice rising digital. You're pulling away. Is it the distance? Or someone else? Both, Jorge admitted, voice small. I love you, but am drowning here. Need to figure me without us shadowing. Elias went quiet, then soft. I get it. Go figure. But doors open. Summer return was strained. Airport hug perfunctory. Condo air thick with unsaid. They coexisted polite. Dinners at Canlis with city views. Walks in Green Lake where ducks quacked oblivious. But touches avoided, beds separate, the space between them a chasm. Jorge sought Theo solo, sessions in the Belltown office peeling layers. He's my first everything, he confessed. But am I his forever, or his redemption arc? Theo nodded. That's his work. Yours is self. Climax brewed in July heatwave, Elias firm hosting a gala at the Space Needle, donors in tuxes orbiting like satellites. Jorge attended arm in arm, tailored suit hugging his now athletic frame from gym routines, heads turning at the pair's entrance. Toasts lauded Elias' vision, but undercurrents swirled. Old board holdouts eyeing Jorge with veiled disdain, whispers of trophies slithering. Mid-reception, Victor Lang's ghost resurfaced via proxy. A leaked audio, Jorge's juvenile hack confession twisted into extortion plot, splashed across TMZ mid-toast. Chaos erupted, donors fleeing, Elias' face ashen as security ushered them out. In the Audi, tires screeching toward Magnolia, Elias exploded. You told me it was anonymous. How could you? It was, Jorge defended, pulse racing. Lang's framing me to gut you. Betrayal boomeranged, Elias pulling over on the 99, hands gripping Will White. This ends us, Jorge. The firm, the life we built on sand. Tears hot, Jorge bolted into the night, hailing a cab to MIA's apartment in Capitol Hill, crashing on her futon amid sobs. Days blurred, Mia force-feeding ramen, Devin dropping comics, but isolation clawed, Elias radio silent, headlines crucifying. Crisis peaked in a breakdown call to Clara, voice fracturing. He's gone. I ruined him. Clara arrived dawn flight, toddler in tow, enveloping him in airport hug. You didn't ruin. You rocked the boat. Now row. Reunion orchestrated at the cabin in Cascades. Clara mediating over Esmores by fire pit. Elias arrived haggard, stubble thick, eyes hollow. I overreacted. Blamed you for my fears. Jorge met his gaze across flames. And I hid. From us. From me. Words poured, regrets, loves, the raw ache of growth. Hands reached tentative, clasping over embers. Forgiveness flickering warm. Healing threaded slow. Lawyers dismantled the leak. Lang facing perjury charges anew. Elias stepped back from CEO duties, handing reins to a trusted VP, prioritizing therapy trios with Theo, where they redefined boundaries, partners equal, no roles blurring. Fall saw Jorge back at MIT, but visits monthly, flights bridged by love letters handwritten. Elias scrawl filling pages with poetry cribbed from Neruda. In you, the stars find home. By 19, Jorge thrived, thesis on AI ethics earning accolades, queer network solid, protests in Boston's South End, panels on intersectional tech. Elias visited for pride, rainbow flags waving as they marched hand in hand, reclaiming narratives. Yet depth demanded more. Jorge proposed a sabbatical year postgrad, returning to Seattle for a master's at UW, closing the gap. Elias agreed, eyes shining. Build here. With me. 20 bloomed with the tenacity of blackberry vines overtaking fences. Jorge ensconced in UW's computer science grad program. Campus a labyrinth of cherry blossoms and lecture halls humming with innovation. The condo, once a sanctuary, now pulsed with shared routine. Mornings of espresso shots and syllabus reviews at the kitchen island. Elias in boxers flipping pancakes while Jorge debugged code on his laptop. Their laughter interlacing like JavaScript nests. Intimacy deepened, no longer frantic but exploratory. Weekends devoted to sensual cartography. Elias blindfolding Jorge with silk ties, feathers tracing spines till shivers cascaded. Jorge reciprocating with massage oils, thumbs kneading knots from Elias' shoulders, descending to hips in worshipful circles. Your poetry, Elias would murmur, undone, and Jorge, emboldened, would reply, you're my muse. Public life solidified too. Elias, semi-retired mogul, mentored startups at incubator spaces in South Lake Union. His story of scandal to strength a keynote draw at queer tech summits. Jorge joined panels beside him. Their synergy electric. Dueling slides on ethical AI, hands brushing podiums. Audiences applauding the pair's alchemy. Friends wove tighter. Mia, now barista poet at a vegan cafe in Fremont, hosted salons where verses clashed over kombucha. Devin, pursuing engineering at Caltech, visited with gadgets and gossip, ribbing their domestic bliss. You two are disgustingly cute. Spill the tea. What's the secret? Communication, Elias deadpanned, winking at Jorge. And really good lube. Laughter masked undercurrents, though. Elias' health faltered subtle. A persistent cough dismissed as allergies. Fatigue blamed on travel. Jorge noticed, pressing at doctor's appointments, but Elias waved it off. Just aging kid. You're stuck with this creaky model. Doubt festered when Clara visited again. Her wife Lila pregnant. Toddler a whirlwind of sticky hugs. Over wine on the balcony, she pulled Jorge aside. He's hiding something. Elias always does, buries pain under provider mode. Watch him. Jorge did, cataloging pallor in morning light, the way Elias winced folding laundry. Confrontation came gentle. Over dim sum in the ID, steam rising from bamboo baskets. Talk to me, please. Elias' chopsticks paused, duck sauce glistening. Lung scar from childhood pneumonia. Docs say it's fibrosis creeping. Manageable. Rage and fear collided, Jorge fork clattering. Manageable? You lied. Not lied. Spared. Elias reached across, palm up. Didn't want to burden your ascent. Burden. The word ignited old wounds. Jorge storming out into Chinatown bustle. Neon flickering accusations. Nights followed cold. Couch for Jorge. Bed for Elias. Silence a third occupant. Reconciliation brewed in mediation. Theo's office again, voices measured. Fear isolates, the therapist noted. Share the load. Elias opened then. Scans spread on coffee table like battle maps, explaining progression slow but inexorable. Could be years, or less, but with you, worth every breath. Jorge softened, hands overlapping on films, vows exchanged quiet. Then we fight. Together. No more secrets. Regimen integrated. Yoga in the living room at dawn. Elias downward dog beside Jorges tree pose. Breath sinking. Pulmonologist check-ins penciled like dates. Post-appointment walks in Discovery Park. The bench where they met now a talisman touched in passing. Ambition pulled Jorge eastward again. A fellowship at Harvard's AI lab. 6 months in Cambridge with stipend for flights. Elias urged acceptance. Go. I'll hold the fort. Reluctance warred, but opportunity beckoned. Collaborations with ethicists on bias in algorithms. Papers co-authored that buzzed academic Twitter. Departure mirrored earlier pains. Airport kiss lingering, Elias whisper hot. Come back whole. And often. Boston Redux brought independence sharpened. Jorge networking at mixers in Kendall Square. Pint in hand amid venture chatter. Dates surfaced casual. A graphic novelist named Alex with ink-stained fingers. Conversations sparking over graphic novels and grief. A bar in Alston where they danced to synthwave. Bodies sinking brief but electric. Guilt gnawed. confessions spilling over video calls. Elias' face illuminated blue. Live Jorge. I'm not fragile. But fragility reared when Elias' call came mid-semester. Voice wheezed. Exacerbation. Hospital. Routine. Panic propelled Jorge onto the red-eye, landing to sterile halls of Swedish medical. Elias in gown hooked to oxygen. Smile wan but genuine. Overdid a hike. Silly me. Days blurred in vigil. Jorge reading aloud from Baldwin essays. Fingers laced tight. Discharge brought homebound caution. Elias relegated to couch with laptop. Jorge cooking bone broths and proofreading memos. Closeness forged in care. Touches tender. Elias head in Jorge's lap during movie marathons. Fingers combing hair. Baths drawn scented. Jorge soaping backs with reverence. Water lapping like lullabies. Fellowship ended triumphant. Jorge returning with published work and a ring box procured in Back Bay Jewelers. Simple platinum band. Engraved with Park Found. Proposal unfolded on that inaugural bench in Discovery Park. Autumn leaves carpeting ground. Elias' eyes widening as Jorge knelt. Partners. Equals. Forever. Yes? Elias breathed, pulling him up into embrace. Kiss sealing amid joggers oblivious. Wedding planning wove whimsy. Ceremony at a vineyard in Woodinville. Vines heavy with Pinot. Mia officiating in flowing gown. Devon best man with vows that cracked laughter. Suits tailored slim. Boutonnieres of ferns and lavender nodding to their forest roots. Vows exchanged under arbor. Elias' voice steady despite oxygen prickle. You were my salvation at 12. Now my horizon. Jorge, tears brimming, replied. You taught me home isn't place. It's you. Reception spilled into twilight. Toasts flowing like wine. First dance to At Last by Etta James. Bodies swaying close. World fading to heartbeats. Honeymoon in the San Juans. Ferry to Orcas Island. Cabin perched on cliffs where orcas breached occasional. Days lazed in salt air. Nights in featherbeds. Loving with leisure. Elias tracing wedding band with tongue. Jorge gasping atop. Rhythms tidal. Return heralded normalcy laced magic. Shared office in the condo. Dual desks facing windows. Collaborations on open-source projects blending Elias' sustainability expertise with Jorge's code. Pride marches hand in band. Rings glinting under rainbows. But crisis loomed insidious. Elias' cough worsened winter. Scans revealing progression accelerated. Transplant list beckoning. Waiting games ensued. Beeper silent on nightstands. Anxiety threading conversations. Jorge balanced PhD pursuits with advocacy. Launching a nonprofit from their story. Park Found Initiative, shelters for LGBTQ youth in urban green spaces, funded by Elias Network. Launch gala at the Museum of Pop Culture. Jimi Hendrix guitar looming as speeches soared. Betrayal revisited via ghost. Ryan, Elias X, now widowed, reaching out post-gala article. Saw the wedding. Happy for you. But if he falters, I'm here. Elias showed the text. Brow furrowed. Old loyalty. Nothing more. Jealousy flickered. But Jorge quashed, replying himself. He's mine. Always was. Storm broke spring. Beeper shrilling 4 a.m. Lungs available. Surgery marathon, Jorge pacing halls. Mia hand in his. Clara flying in with family. Hours stretched eternal, then elation. Success, Elias wheeled to recovery, groggy grin. New bellows. For new songs. Rehab rigorous, Jorge at every PT session. Cheering laps around hospital corridors. Discharge home brought celebration. Backyard barbecue in Magnolia. Friends toasting resilience. Summer healed, Elias lungs knitting strong. Hikes resuming tentative up Rattlesnake Ledge. Views of Snoqualmie Valley bomb. Intimacy renewed vigorous. Bodies rediscovering vigor. Elias pinning Jorge against pine trunks. Gasps mingling with birdsong. By 22, Jorge defended dissertation. Summa cum laude. Offers flooding from Google to startups. He chose Seattle, adjunct at UW. Building Park Found into national model. Elias, fully recovered. I'd expansion, Hawthorne Green Tech franchising. Legacy secured. Life wove content, anniversaries marked with park picnics, bench rituals of renewal. 23 ushered maturity's quiet confidence, Jorge lecturing halls filled with wide-eyed undergrads. His syllabus a manifesto on inclusive tech, anecdotes from street survival to boardroom battles captivating. Elias audited sessions incognito, front row beaming, post-class coffees devolving into debates that ended in stolen kisses behind podiums. Their circle deepened. Mentorships bloomed, Jorge guiding foster kids through code boot camps at park found centers now dotting Portland and Vancouver. Elias funding scholarships with personal touch, notes tucked in envelopes, from one park survivor to another. Domesticity charmed. Herb garden on the balcony thriving under Jorge's care, basil and thyme scenting Sunday sauces simmered slow. Date nights at jazz dens in Belltown, Elias foot tapping to saxes while Jorge nursed whiskeys, hands linked under tables. Passion endured vibrant, explorations venturing bold. Role-play nights where Jorge donned Elias old suits, power dynamics flipped playful. Tantric workshops in Fremont studios, breaths held till ecstasy crested wave-like. Challenges surfaced familial. Jorge's birth father resurfaced via letter, postmarked from the trailer park, words scrawled shaky. Saw you on TV. Proud, son. Can we talk? Rage initial, but Elias urged grace. Closure's your power. Meeting arranged neutral, coffee shop in neutral ground, suburbs edging Seattle. Father aged haggard, eyes downcast over lattes. I was wrong. Church poison. Lost you to fear. Jorge voice even, Elias hand under table grounding. You did, but I rebuilt. Without you. No hugs, but parting lighter. Letter filed away, wound scarred over. Elias' own family mended threads. Clara's second child born, naming Jorge godfather. Baptism in Portland Riverside Chapel. Vows whispered over infant's brow. Protect her light as you did mine. Professional pinnacles crested. Jorge TEDx invite. Stage lights hot as he recounted thrown-out dawn to Millionaire mercy. Audience riveted. Applause thundering. Elias in wings. Tears unchecked. Post-talk. Book deal landed. Memoir pitched as From Park Bench to Power Couple. Ghostwriter sessions in cozy cafes. Elias inputting anecdotes over wine. Betrayal echo faded, but new conflict brewed corporate. Hawthorne expansion targeted Montana renewables, but local opposition mounted. Ranchers wary of city queer influence. Protests picketing sites with slurs scrawled on signs. Elias traveled often, boots caked in prairie dust. Negotiations tense over steaks in Billings diners. Jorge joined weekends, laptop in tow, coding site models to sway skeptics. Climax detonated during a site visit. Dust devils swirling over solar arrays. A rancher, face weathered as leather, cornered Elias post-meeting. Your kind don't belong here. Bringing your agenda to good Christian land. Fists clenched, but Jorge stepped forward, voice steel. Our agenda? Clean energy for your kids' future. Love's got nothing to do with turbines. Brawl averted, but threat lingered. Sabotage whispers. Slash tires on the crew truck that night. Hotel room tense, Elias pacing, Jorge massaging temples. They're afraid. Like my father was. Elias halted, pulling him close. And we persist. Love's the ultimate disruptor. Backlash peaked with arson attempt on a prototype panel. Flames licking pre-dawn. Firefighters hosing embers as news vans swarmed. Elias' statement to press unflinching. Hate burns hot, but progress endures. We're building, not burning bridges. Investigation nabbed the culprits. Disgruntled locals with Lang ties unearthed. Indictments swift. Project greenlit. Groundbreaking ceremony with rancher holdouts attending wary. Handshakes tentative but real. Triumph tempered by Elias checkup. Lungs holding but fatigue chronic. Specialists suggested sabbatical, travel light. Recharge. Before the world drains you. They planned escape. Road trip down the Pacific Coast Highway. Austin to Big Sur. Convertible top-down, wind-whipping hair. Route traced memories. Elias college haunts in Texas. Hill country hikes where he strummed guitar under live oaks. sharing origin tales of small-town closets cracked open in dorm rooms. California legs wound through vineyards. Wine tastings in Napa where they danced slow under string lights, bodies pressed in Cabernet haze. Big Sur cliffs dramatic, hikes to Midway Falls where mist kissed skin, lovemaking on secluded beaches, sand gritting thighs, waves crashing chorus. Return reinvigorated, Elias vitality renewed, launching a wellness arm to Hawthorne, apps for mindfulness in high-stress fields, Jorge coding the back end with empathetic algorithms. 24 marked milestones. Book release party at Elliott Bay Books, stacks signing till wrists ached, fans queuing with stories echoing theirs. Youth found in parks, millionaires and mentors turned lovers. Elias toast clinked glasses. To Jorge, who turned my life from code to color. Reviews glowed, bestseller lists climbed, tour cities blending. New York readings in cozy indie shops, LA panels with Hollywood queer icons. Each stop a reaffirmation. Home anchored, though. Holidays with Clara's brood. Turkey carved amid chaos. Jorge uncle extraordinaire. Chasing toddlers through leaves. Crisis emotional crested anniversary eve. Elias gifting a star named in Jorge's honor. Certificate framed. But in bed after, whispers turned confessional. Sometimes I fear I'm holding you back. Young, brilliant. You could have anyone. Jorge straddled him. Hands pinning wrists playful yet firm. I choose you. Every dawn. Flaws, coughs, all. Laughter dissolved tension. Bodies uniting fervent. Affirmations gasped into necks. Healing journey looped back. Park found expanding to rural outposts. Montana cabins for at-risk queer kids. Therapy horses grazing beside solar-powered dorms. Jorge keynote openings. Elias beside. Hands clasped in dirt. By 25, legacy solidified. Jorge tenured track at UW. Elias philanthropy board seats. Their union symbol. Pride flags over tech campuses. Op-eds on age gap loves thriving. Evening rituals endured. Sunset walks in the park. Bench settling worn smooth. Fingers laced as fairies horned distant. From here, Elias murmured once, head on Jorge's shoulder. It all began. And continues, Jorge replied. Kiss sealing the vow, world turning gentle around them. 25 crystallized like dew on Seattle ferns. Jorge Ramirez Hawthorne, hyphenated fresh from City Hall ceremony. Rings updated, navigating tenured lectures with the poise of a man who'd stared down expulsion and emerged architect. Classrooms buzzed fuller, students drawn to his blend of rigor and relatability. Office hours spilling into coffee runs where personal yarns wove into career counsel. Code like you love, bold, unapologetic. Elias, ever the counterpoint, dove deeper into legacy work, Hawthorne Foundation grants seeding queer youth programs nationwide, site visits to Alabama safe houses or Idaho coding camps leaving him dust-streaked and inspired. Evenings, they debrief over rooftop dinners, city sprawl twinkling below, plates of grilled halibut and heirloom tomatoes shared fork to fork. Intimacy evolved intimate, years honing attunement. Mornings waking to oral symphonies, Elias expertise drawing shudders from Jorge before coffee brewed. Afternoons stolen in home office, desk cleared for dalliances, Jorge's cries muffled against palms as Elias took him slow, deliberate, eyes locked in vulnerability. Challenges familial resurfaced gentle. Jorge's mother, long silent post-expulsion, mailed a package. Scrapbook of his childhood scribbles, news clippings yellowed, note trembling. Missed your light. Forgive. Elias encouraged reply, co-authoring a letter forgiving without forgetting. Meeting arranged in neutral Tacoma Cafe. Reunion awkward. Coffee cooling untouched. Her eyes tracing the man her boy became. Stronger than I raised. Hugs came hesitant, then firm. Bridge rebuilt tentative. Monthly calls, holidays tentative invites. Elias kin enveloped fuller. Clara's family annual Woodinville escapes. Vineyards hosting barbecues where Jorge chased nieces on swings. Elias grilling skewers with stories of his own sisterly squabbles. Lila, ever the peacemaker, pulled him aside once. You saved him. From loneliness. Professional tempests brewed anew. Jorge's research grant targeted deep fake detection for hate speech, Collaborators International, but funding dried amid political shifts. New administration slashing DEI budgets. Emails curt. Priorities realigned. Rage channeled productive. Jorge pivoting to crowdfund via Park Found Network. Donors rallying with micro-investments. Campaign video his raw plea. Hate hides in pixels. We expose it. Millions poured. Project relaunch stronger. Partnerships with ACLU blooming. Elias faced boardroom revolt at the foundation. Conservative donors balking at overt advocacy. Threatening pullouts. Crisis meeting in mahogany-paneled conference room. Elias voice resonant. This isn't politics. It's people. Youth like Jorge thrown to wolves. Pull if you must. We rebuild without you. Most stayed. Exodus minimal, integrity intact. Aftermath, they celebrated Feral. Nightclub in Capitol Hill. Bass-thumping bodies close on dance floor. Sweat-slick grinds leading to alleyway trysts. Urgency raw against brick walls. Betrayal personal struck summer. Old Spectre Ryan emailing Elias directly. Health scare here. Thinking of you. Visit. Context medical but undertone wistful. Attachment a photo of shared Austin past. Jorge found it open on the laptop, heart clenching. Confrontation over breakfast bagels, voice level. Go if you need. But tell me. Elias closed the screen, hand over Jorges. Need? No. Past is photo. Your film. Living. Breathing. Resolution in deletion. Ryan blocked gentle, closure affirming. Autumn brought apex and abyss intertwined. Jorge invited to Oxford for guest lectures, month-long, prestigious. Elias encouraged, but cough returned faint. Scans precautionary. Departure bittersweet. Heathrow fog swallowing the plane. Jorge settling into college quads with tea and tutorials. Calls daily, but Elias' voice thinned, masking strain. Midway, the call. Pneumonia complication. Back in hospital. Jorge canceled remaining talks. Red-eye horror landing to ICU beep. Elias mask-bound. Smile weak through tubes. Vigil endless. Hand held constant. Machines guardians grim. Fight! Jorge whispered. Readings from their book aloud. Words talismans. Rally came slow. Antibiotics warring infection. Transfer to step-down unit where Mia smuggled tacos. Devon virtual chess from Pasadena. Clara flew. Family huddle in waiting room. Prayers secular but fervent. Discharge fragile, homebound with home health aides. Elias relegated to recliner with oxygen concentrator humming lullaby. Jorge paused sabbatical, adjunct duties remote, focus caregiving. Meals pureed gentle, walks paced slow around the block. Baths assisted with dignity preserved. Emotional torrent crested one rainy eve. Elias tears tracking cheeks as Jorge adjusted nasal cannula. Burdening you again. Go live, travel, teach. Jorge knelt, forehead to knees. Life's you. Without. Empty code. Therapy resumed tandem. Theo navigating caregiver fatigue. Elias guilt. Love's load-bearing, the man said. Share it. Healing layered. Support group for chronic illness partners at a Queen and Center. Jorge sharing amid circles. Bonds forming over shared vigils. Elias joined later. Vulnerability his strength. Stories inspiring attendees. Winter thawed to spring, Elias strength rebounding. Concentrator retired to closet. Hikes resuming to Lake Washington shores. Kayaks rented for tandem paddles. Water lapping hull like applause. 26 dawned resilient. Jorge tenure secured. Elias Foundation Gala his return. Tux crisp. Toast humble. Illness taught gratitude. For Jorge, my anchor. Summer sabbatical swapped for local. Road trip looping cascades. Campfires recounting youth. Elias strumming guitar frail but fervent. Jorge harmonizing off-key. Laughter echoing canyons. Crisis resolved in quiet epiphany. Park bench at dusk. Elias voice soft. Feared ID leave you half-written. But you? Masterpiece complete. Jorge leaned in, ring cool against skin. We co-author. Always. Legacy expanded. Park Found documentary premiered at SIFF. Sundance buzz following. Their story celluloid, young Jorge rain-soaked. Elias jogging fateful, montages of love's labors. Q&A tears flowed. Audience standing ovations thunderous. Home rituals sacred. Anniversary park vigils. Wildflowers laid at bench. Vows renewed whispered. Friends gatherings. Mia's poetry slams where verses nodded to their arc. By 27, equilibrium held. Jorge department chair whispers. Elias advisory rolls light. Travels joint. Greece islands where they wandered ruins hand in hand. Aegean sun gilding skin. Nights in whitewashed villas loving under stars. Challenges mellowed. Minor health flares managed proactive. Family ties deepened. Jorge's mother weekly brunches. Her pride quiet in smiles. Betrayal banished, trust bedrock. Emotional crises now dialogues. Healed through touch and time. Humanistic close. In the park one golden October. Leaves drifting like confetti. Elias paused, eyes on horizon. Threw you out at 12. But fate threw you to me. Changed everything. Jorge smiled, arm around waist. And us? Changed the world. One love at a time. They walked on, shadows merging, story unfinished but profoundly whole.